Hello again, everyone. Finishing off my look at the teams in Chicago this week with the Chicago Bulls of the NBA. Last night's Bulls had a big win over the Thunder, 108 to 105. So now they got a 39-23 record. So that has a solid playoff spot for them, pretty much locked up. We still got the rest of the season to finish off, but if they finish strong, they should at least finish with a top four seed in the East. The Central Division is the division they play in. They got some tough opponents and other teams that are in that division. Obviously, the Cavaliers, they got a 39-24 record, and the Bucks have a 32-29 record. So that'll be a tight race between the Cavs and the Bulls, who will win the Central Division. Both of them will be in the playoffs for sure, though. Potential finals preview last night with the Thunder and the Bulls facing off against each other. I think they both have the potential of making it to the NBA Finals this year. So we'll see what happens. Especially the Bulls have a team, with Derrick Rose and Butler both being injured right now. They have to have players that are going to step up, and Pau Gasol continues to do that with a solid 21 point, 12 rebound performance last night. Noah is continuing to dominate on the boards and get the assists in where he needed last night. He had a 12 rebound, 9 assist game, so that's good. And then you got Mirotic, who's an undrafted rookie this year, 26 points, 8 rebounds. That's really solid for that guy there. And then you also have Moore, who was drafted just back in 2011, chipping in with 19 points and 4 rebounds last night as well. So you have to have players that are going to step up when Rose and Butler are hurt. Butler was drafted back in 2011, so he's still a young guy, but he was contributing over 20 points per game and almost 9 rebounds per game. And then Derrick Rose is contributing over 18 points per game and 5 assists per game. So somehow you have to have guys that can step up and get those 40 points that Butler and Rose were contributing for your team in another manner. And they have players that can do it. On the season, Pau Gasol is a solid player. He's a double-double average. He averages 18 points per game, 12 rebounds, chips in 3 assists. So that's a solid player to have. Again, I'll say from previous posts, I don't know how people doubted him almost being the All-Star game. To me, it was kind of, it's nice to have brother-on-brother kind of thing, with Gasol playing for the Grizzlies and Gasol playing and Powell playing for the Bulls. Obviously, it would be kind of neat if the Grizzlies made it to the finals and have a brother-on-brother kind of thing in the final. I think that would make for a great storyline kind of thing. But when Powell was playing for the Lakers, I think he got a lot more exposure. He does with the Bulls as well, but I think everybody knows the Bulls is Derrick Rose's team. For sure, even though Rose has been hurt a lot the last couple of years, it's still Derrick Rose's team, I think. But Pau Gasol is a great guy to have down low. And, when you look at his stats this season, 18 points per game, 12 rebounds, he's averaging a double-double. He deserved to be at the All-Star game. Some people I know, were a little iffy with him being a starter at the All-Star game, and does he deserve to be there? He totally did. Taj Gibson, I think he's also recently been injured, so that's another hurt to your team for sure. So you're going to have guys like Noah, who I feel hasn't reached his potential. I still think he has a little bit more to give. But he's only producing 8 points per game, 10 rebounds, so he's getting on the glass for you. He's a good guy to have down low to get the rebounds, for sure. But only 8 points per game. In order for them to have a strong playoff run, ideally with Butler and Rose when they get back from injury, that'll give them the little pop they need. But if that's prolonged and they get into the playoffs and they're not back, Noah's going to have to find a way to get more points in the net for sure. Just because him only giving 8 points a night is not going to be enough for you to continue a deep playoff stretch. Aaron Brooks, another guy you have on your team, he contributes his 11 points per game, 3 assists, so he's a good guy to have for sure. And like I said, Mirotic kind of had a breakout game last night with his 26 points, 8 rebounds throughout the season. He's averaged 8 points per game, 4.5 rebounds. So that's a good guy to have there for sure. They have the roster, I think, to make a deep playoff push. They got the veterans in Mike Dunleavy and Kirk Heinrich. So they got the veterans there for sure. Obviously, Rose and Butler would make your team a lot better, and I feel would for sure get you a deep playoff run with them. But as long as they can continue to succeed without them, the Central might be a tough division to win with those guys being out, with Butler and Rose being hurt. I think the division might end up going to the Cavaliers, where the Bucks could surprise us all and overtake these two teams and win that division. So they got a tough division there for sure. They're going to make the playoffs. It's a matter of how they finish off the season, who their first round opponent's going to be, what seed they get. For sure, teams that are there with them, like I said, the Hawks are obviously leading the East, and I think they're the team to beat for sure. The Raptors have been slumping lately. I don't think they're the third overall team for sure. Like the Bulls are second now, so that's great right there. And like I said, the Raptors have just dipped down now to the third seed in the East, but I don't think they're the team they are. They've been slumping lately. I don't think the Raptors are going to have a deep playoff push unless they can get their act together. So seeing who they could potentially face, the Cavaliers, like I said, could win their division for sure. The Bulls might be looking at an opponent like the Celtics. Could make a surprise push at the end and squeak in there. The 7th and 8th seeds there's 5 and 6 different teams that could easily squeak in and grab those seeds. So it's hard to predict who their opponent would be if the Bulls can finish the season strong and finish with a 2nd or 3rd overall seed kind of thing and face the 6th, 7th, or 8th if they can find a way to get the Hawks out of the 1st seed, which I think is a tall task. I think they'll finish somewhere their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th seed kind of thing. So their opponent, like I said, could be the Celtics. There's 4 or 5 other teams that they could end up facing in there. So it's hard to predict who their opponent's going to be. But they need to finish strong. They need to have these guys continue to step up. Pau Gasol now needs to take the reins. I think he can be the leader of your team for sure when Derrick Rose is hurt. Even when Rose is playing, I still think Pau can be a good leader for your team. Dunleavy, Heinrich, these guys, they need to step up. Aaron Brooks needs to step up. Joakim Noah needs to keep his presence on the boards for sure, but he's got to start chipping in more points per game if they want to have a chance at making a deep playoff run with Rose and Butler being injured. But as soon as those guys come back, that's a big boost to your lineup, and they'll definitely secure a deeper playoff push and hopefully a good strong finish to the end of the regular season. Can't talk about the Bulls without mentioning Michael Jordan, of course. Him and Pippen were an amazing duo back when the Bulls were a dynasty, you could say, in the 90s, winning the championship for 3 years in 91, 92, and 93, and then again in 3 years in 96, 97, and 98. So the 90s, you could say, was the Bulls' decade. They had arguably one of the best duos in NBA history with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, for sure. When you look at Michael Jordan, he's a 5-time MVP, MVP in the 88 season, 91, 92, 96, and 98 season. 14 times All-Star. He's got 32+ thousand career points, 6,500 plus career rebounds, 5,500 plus career assists. His stats make him arguably, again, I feel in any sport, Wayne Gretzky is arguably the greatest NHL player of all time. Michael Jordan is arguably the greatest NBA player of all time. Babe Ruth is arguably the greatest baseball player of all time. I don't think there's ever going to be one guy that's, he's number one, and everybody's going to agree with that. For me, Michael Jordan for sure is worthy of all the accolades he's received, and all the talent that he's produced. Let the stats I just mentioned, how can he not be considered one of the greatest of all time? And when you have a guy like Scottie Pippen along with you, Pippen was a 7-time All-Star. He's got 18,000 plus career points, 6,000 plus career rebounds, and 2,000 plus career assists. So not the same stats as Jordan, but when you're playing alongside Jordan, Jordan's probably going to be getting the ball a lot. So for Pippen to still have 18,000 plus career points is really, really impressive, playing alongside Jordan. So a lot of people try to make comparisons with Durant and Westbrook nowadays as a current duo that you could compare to Pippen and Jordan. I don't think you can compare the two, just because they play in different times. Jordan and Pippen played during the 90s. Westbrook and Durant are now playing in the 2010s. So there's 2 whole decades of separation from how they played, and the style of basketball has changed. It's hard to say if Pippen and Jordan would have had the same career success if they were playing in the league now. And then you can flip that around and say, well, what if Durant and Westbrook played back when Jordan and Pippen were playing? How would they have done then? Also, Westbrook and Durant are hard to make that comparison because for the last few years, rarely have they been healthy, both of them healthy at the same time and playing together. So that's a hard comparison to make. So I think Jordan and Pippen are for sure, again, arguably one of the best duo in NBA history. And like I said, Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest NBA player of all time. So I had to talk about those two guys. I'm talking about the Bulls for sure. Hopefully, Butler and Rose can heal quickly from their injuries and get back to the lineup and help the Bulls finish the season off strong and have a deep playoff run. Like I said, the Central Division is kind of up for grabs between the Cavaliers and the Bulls, and then the Bucks is kind of as a wild card if they could have an amazing end of their season and the Cavs and the Bulls kind of tank. We'll see what happens. But like I said, big win last night with their 108 to 105 win over the Thunder. Those are the games that they need to continue to win, because those are the opponents and the caliber of opponents that you're going to be facing deep into the playoffs. So if your lineup without Rose and Butler can beat those solid teams with the Thunder, and then looking at your own division, can you beat the Hawks? Can you beat the Cavaliers? Can you beat those teams with those players hurt? And if you can do that, then you're going to finish the season strong, probably have a solid playoff run. But like I said, the team's going to be better with those two guys there. But they got the veteran players in Heinrich and Dunleavy and Pau Gasol who can lead the team, finish the season strong and have a deep playoff push. So good luck to the Bulls the rest of the season. Thank you again for listening in this week with all my talks on the Chicago sports teams. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614. I'll be talking again with you next week from a different city. Stay tuned. Thanks again. Bye.